Hi, everybody, and welcome to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. We've got kind of a light room today. With the Memorial Day holiday, everyone's kind of off doing their own thing, except for Skyblaze, including Skyblaze, who, despite it not being Memorial Day over there, is off doing her own thing at a con. And so it's just kind of me and Bryan today. So we thought we'd do something a little bit different this week and have sort of just an informal fireside chat about something that we haven't really talked about in any real detail, except maybe in the headlines. But we thought we'd kind of examine in depth and kind of, talk about a bit, and that's the upcoming, well, according to Bryan, currently undergoing a shake-up at Marvel Comics with Secret Wars. Didn't you say it's already started, Bryan?
Yeah, we did. It started, I want to say it started maybe 2 weeks ago since this recording, and I think issue 2 should be actually already out. Okay. They've all sort of started, and I don't know if it's weekly. I don't think it's weekly. But you never know. It could be because let's see. I'm actually looking at what's coming out because I've only read issue 1 at the moment. I'm behind because issue 2 came out and I haven't read it. Issue 1 was pretty much a prologue of what was happening to the whole story. How it gets to Battle World and the whole idea of Secret Wars in general. Because this is sort of a sequel to the original Secret Wars. I guess you can call it a sequel, where they all got transported off planet and they all had to fight each other. Kind of the same thing, except now you're dealing with parallel universes going back and forth and all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Now, it's and weekly or monthly, it's apparently damned expensive from what you're telling me.
Well, issue 1 was $5, $4.99. Issue 2 was $4.99. Now, apparently, I'm looking on Comixology right now. Comixology has issue 3 at $3.99. And I'm trying to see, exactly where the page count was. Because a lot of times when you get something this big, the page count is actually supposed to be as big as it's supposed to be like a deluxe. Issue 1 was about 40 pages, it said. It didn't feel like 40 pages.
Now what's a deluxe?
Pages.
I'm not familiar with that terminology.
Well, I'm mixing terms is what I'm because mostly a single issue is about 20 to 22 pages. And roughly, they're priced at between $2.99 for that. And then if you go up to 24, 26, it might be $3.99. The first issue, according to Comixology, had the page count at 40. So, all right, so 40 pages, that's a lot of paper, $4.99. The second issue is 49 pages, it says. So, obviously, $4.99, that's why that one's $4.99. A lot of this is because Hickman writes probably colossal amount. But, with issue 3 coming out, apparently issue 3 goes back to 28 pages, they have it priced at $3.99. Pricing comics is its own separate sort of discussion and how it's sort of been manipulated throughout the years.
Now you're throwing out all these numbers at me. My question is, how many of these pages are actual pages and how many of them are ads?
Oh, that's always a good question because I get digital a lot now. I'm kind of stuck to digital for single issues anyway. I still do trade collecting because trade collecting is awesome. I like having a bookshelf full of stuff. But in terms of single issues, I feel like I've sort of finally kind of gone off into what's called the dark side and saying, all right, I'm probably going to stick with digital. I don't have to worry about long boxes anymore. B, I can read it wherever I want to. I don't have to worry about anything like that. What was the question? I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there.
One of the things that's kind of strike me about all these books that are ending is a lot of them are books that they really have every reason in the world to keep going. I'm looking at the list here on IGN, and I'm seeing Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, Legendary Star-Lord, and a lot of these are, some of these are books that either have big popular movies already out or have movies that are really hotly anticipated coming out, and I'm just kind of guys, you're shooting yourself in the foot here. People are going to go see the Deadpool movie. They're going to want to read Deadpool. Why won't you give them Deadpool?
Well, you'll get the idea is that you're talking about the 33 comics that they're quote unquote canceling.
Yeah.
And the reason they're being quote unquote canceled is because this is the whole idea is at the end of spoilers, even though they have announced it already, that the end of Secret Wars, issue 1. The Ultimate Universe and the main Marvel Universe are dead. They had at the end of the issue, they had a splash page that had from this year to 2015 and from this year to 2015. So they're saying, like, it's dead. Everything that comes out now is going to be all new. It's going to be all different. That's their big tagline, because they've gone from Marvel Now to all new Marvel Now. So now it's all new, all different Marvel Now. Just keep adding shit to that title.
So this is pretty much what it took to finally erase One More Day from continuity. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Well, that's the thing. I don't even think One More Day is because it's not a reboot. Marvel doesn't do reboots. So and they're going to probably, like, a lot of the books you're looking at, most likely they're coming back. Captain America's coming back. Captain Marvel's coming back. Deadpool obviously come back. Guardians of the Galaxy will come back. They'll be under different names, or just Captain America, and they'll get all new number ones, and then everyone's going to sort of rush out and get to them. But there are ones that for a fact are dead, like Spider-Man and the X-Men. That's not coming back. Was in the Inhumans. The Inhumans are getting a new book. They've already announced it. The Uncanny Inhumans. There's just when you look at the list, you kind of look going, all right, they're cleaning house, and there's obviously going to be others here that are coming back. It's not Marvel without a Spider-Man book. It's not Marvel without a Captain America book. It's not Marvel without an Avengers book, and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of that is a lot of just cleaning house, getting their lines in order, and figuring everything out when it comes along. And they're keeping that close to the chest. They're not saying which is coming back, but I can guess a lot. If there's a movie coming out featuring a character, if there's a TV show featuring a character, they're going to have a book.
So now what do you think is going to happen with all the X books? Because there's been sort of the sort of scuttlebutt that I've been hearing on the internet is that Disney's got a hate on for anything that Fox owns the film rights to, which pretty much is the entire mutant stable.
So, funny story.
Funny haha or funny oh god why?
Maybe a little bit of both. So I'm bad at predicting things. Because when I heard the whole Secret Wars and what's going to happen to X-Men, one of the big things was the rumor going around is that the X-Men were going to be sent to a completely different planet. And they're going to they're on a no planet. It's just nothing but X-Men and mutants on this planet. And they're going to have all their fun and adventure over here. And I sat there going, no, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to probably have the books be separated out. And they're not going to have big crossovers because of the issues they've had with 20th Century Fox. Apparently I was wrong. Apparently the way I hear it now is yes, they are in fact going to be sent to another planet. Which makes me go, huh? Because that really hurts. I feel like that will hurt the X-Men books more than help them.
So if I understand what you're saying, they're pretty much swapping out the X-Men and the Inhumans.
Yes, they're exactly. The Inhumans is Marvel Studios' version of the X-Men. That's why they're getting a super big push in the books.
And in TV through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, and through TV. So that's they want to sort of replace that. And that's also why Fantastic Four is sort of got canceled. And then the rumor is that the team is basically the characters will be around, but they're going to split them up to different books. So it's not going to be like a Fantastic Four book, but the Fantastic Four characters will still exist. Like Johnny Storm is going to be in the Inhumans book because he has history with some of the Inhumans. Where Sue Storm ends up, I have no idea. Where Mr. Fantastic ends up, I have no idea. Where Ben Grimm, I have no idea where he's going to end up. So, and that is because
I see Reed Richards as like hosting a television science program like Bill Nye the Science Guy, except boring.
Boring and slightly evil. But he's not supposed to be evil. He's a dick. Read the books. Anyway. But yeah, Fantastic Four really got the shaft. And that is because of a huge fight between Marvel and 20th Century Fox CEOs. Like, they had a hissy fit, and that's why things are like it is, and that's why the new movie doesn't really look like a Fantastic Four movie, and that's why Fantastic Four doesn't really exist right now.
I want to take a moment to talk about the movie. I finally saw a trailer for the Fantastic Four movie. It's the first piece of promotional material that I've seen for it. I saw it when I went to go see Age of Ultron, and I swore for a moment that what I was looking at just recut footage of Thor 2: The Dark World. I was like, this isn't Fantastic Four. This is Thor 2 with different characters. It just was very jarring, I guess, to see the Fantastic Four with such a gritty, depressing tone. I mean, was that just me? What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I didn't have any, like, it was so unimpressive. Like, my thoughts were, I was like, oh, it's a trailer. Like, that was what my thoughts were. It wasn't, oh, it's a Fantastic Four trailer. Oh, it's a comic movie trailer. That's a movie trailer. You know, you had the bloms. You had the hints of using powers but not showing the powers. I think the second trailer has a hint of Doctor Doom, but you can barely see who he is. It was just unimpressive. It was like you're supposed to, you didn't wow me. It wasn't even like bad. It was just unimpressive, which may be worse.
Like this is just how turned off I was by the Fantastic Four trailer. Okay, I'm more willing to go see Pixels than I am the Fantastic Four movie.
That's saying a lot.
and I know you're looking forward to that episode because
I'm gonna.
This is karma biting me in the ass for Battleship. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, but it's I mean that again. It's just that's 20th Century Fox wants to keep a hold of the rights. To do that, they have to make a movie and everything like that. The way the contracts are all sort of stated out. And unfortunately, with the big... See, it was so strange because 20th Century... Because they only have a bad relationship for Fantastic Four and X-Men. I don't know how Marvel feels about the Deadpool movie. Like...
Well, don't Marvel Studios have the right to Deadpool?
No, it's still 20th Century Fox.
Really?
Well, he's a mutant.
Oh.
If you're a mutant, you're under that banner of 20th Century Fox X-Men films.
Well, I guess Deadpool's status as a mutant is debatable depending on which book you're reading because he kind of flip-flops. I think it's just whatever his mood is that week.
That's very true. I can look it up real quick because that's coming out like next year because they're filming it right now. I know there's, they have... I don't think they have distribution rights, but they have some sort of production rights or whatever. I mean, it might be in Marvel Studios, and I completely lost it. It might be under. They might have snuck him out somehow. I don't know how, but man, that's impressive. Because last I heard, it was still 20th Century Fox, and IMDb has failed me. All right, whatever.
Okay, well, whoever owns the rights, the movie's getting made. That's what.
Yeah, the movie's getting made, so I have no problem with that.
So I guess my next question about all this is what other kinds of things can we expect to see shaken up with this whole kind of dispute? Because something that I don't recall if I talked about on the show or not, but the licensing rights to the Marvel video game characters has also shifted. Activision lost all of the Marvel licensing rights at the start of, I think, 2014, which sucked for fans of Deadpool because that meant because the Deadpool game came out like July of 2013. So after 6 months, no more copies are being made, and you can't find the game on Steam anymore. But that also includes like big hits like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or all those rights that Activision and all that had the publishing rights to. They're not there anymore.
My understanding is I think Activision got blindsided there. I think I don't think they realized what was coming because I think they were expecting to go into contract negotiations, and what has happened is Disney said, "Nope, we are taking over." So eventually, you will get more games. But it's going to take a while because I don't know how Disney's video game department is. I do know that apparently in 2017, I think, Telltale, the makers of the Walking Dead video game, Sam and Max, and the Back to the Future game, has hooked up with Marvel saying, we're going to make a game with you. But I don't, again, that's coming in 2017. So the video game stuff is really in the air. Because that's all on Disney's side. I think Disney decided I think it was just sort of a consolidation of the Marvel stuff. It's, you've licensed this out to too many people. When things get let loose, we are going to collect it and have it under our umbrella. No questions asked. Well, what about no questions asked? Well, what about no questions asked? We are the mouse. So that's sort of, I think that's sort of what happened. And I do know that they want to follow. Someone said in an interview, and it was a long time ago, so it might have been changed by now. They want to follow what Marvel Studio was, and they actually want to have the video games be another subsection of the movie and TV stuff.
Oh my God, that won't end well.
No, I said that's a pushing the limit because of video games. They take a while,
they take a while, and they've also grown to be such behemoths to produce that I mean, Marvel Studios is putting out, just on its own. What's the fair estimate? Say like 3 or 4 films a year.
Oh, they're still only about doing an average of 2. They're sticking with the average of 2 because it's how it worked with them the best.
Okay, so 2, 3 if it's a good year.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah,
and these are all being produced in house. Okay, but you can't really do that with video games. I mean, EA can get away with it because they're exclusively a publisher. They buy a whole bunch of different development studios to actually make the games. So unless Disney is going to shell out some serious coin to get a bunch of developers under their Disney Interactive umbrella, I don't see how they're going to be able to make these games, to make a whole bunch of games tie into not just the MCU but also each other and have it work right. And also, how the fuck are you going to oversee all of that and maintain quality?
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking when I first heard. Now, this is an interview. It's a long time ago, and nothing's been said of it since. So I'm pretty sure the guy was talking about, hey, here's an idea we had. Someone sort of sat down, looked at the logistics, said, this is probably not a good idea.
It's also, it's just in terms of the continuity. I mean, let's be totally honest. You're going to be a lot more, if you see something in, say, Age of Ultron that you don't understand, you're going to be a lot more willing to go see, watch a 2 to 3 hour movie to catch up on what you need to know than sit through and play, 16 to 20 hours of a video game just to understand this one obscure reference.
Possibly. I mean, think about even like The Matrix sort of tried this and it didn't really work out. I think.
Yeah, because that was with Enter the Matrix, and they also had the Animatrix tie-in. That was, I mean, shit, we've got precedent, and it didn't work. And then you want to look at what was that sci-fi TV show that had a video game tie-in with it? I want to say Defiance.
It was Defiance. I remember that.
Yeah. Look at the fiasco that turned out to be.
Yeah, like it worked for a week, and all right, and then after that week, it was it just didn't work anymore because you couldn't keep up because this TV was already on the schedule, and so all the guys on the multi. On the servers and stuff shit.
So
who thought this up? Damn it, sci-fi. Go make a shark movie.
Or bring back Caprica. Which I know they'll never do.
No, I mean the thing is a lot of times I think they're hard to talk about the Secret War stuff is because Marvel's just been playing very close to their chest. They're not releasing any sort of information like solicitations and stuff like that. That are dealing with what's going to happen in the future. The biggest tease we had, they actually teased it 3 different times. It was the same teaser of when Secret Wars is over, the Marvel Universe is going to skip ahead 8 months. And like I said, over the weekend, I was watching this over the weekend, they teased this press release 3 times. I was like, I think we get it. You're skipping 8 months in terms of timeline. So
why is that a big deal? Are they going to do like DC did with the 52, come out with something that fills in that gap?
Nope. I guarantee you they're probably not going to do something like that. I'm pretty sure, my biggest theory, and the most prevalent theory is, you're going to see the comics be more like the movies. I.e., you're going to see a lot of the same characters, a lot look kind of like the actors and act like the actors and stuff like that. Nick Fury is going to be Samuel L. Jackson.
Which I have no complaints about.
Yeah. I don't know. Now, they have Sam Wilson, the Falcon, as the new Captain America. and they'll probably keep him around because Chris Evans' contract's coming up, and so they're like, all right, we'll just make when we continue on, Falcon just could take over the mantle because he's already in the comics as Captain America, done and done, things like that. Miles is sticking around. He's the only character from the Ultimates, to my knowledge, is sticking around, which is fine because unfortunately the Ultimate Universe just is. It was such a clusterfuck by the end of it. It just really, really needed to be going. Either needed to stop or they needed to, I guess, restart it. And since they weren't going to do that, they said, all right, it's dead, but we like this character, so he's coming over here.
I've heard all this talk about the Ultimate Universe being clusterfuck, but nobody can tell me exactly why. Is that just, are they just unwilling to, or is it just one of those things that they'd have to sit me down with a flow chart and explain it and draw me a map?
The flow chart. After Ultimatum, where they killed off about 90% of the cast, and in Ultimate Universe, dead is dead. What you had left was a lot of characters people didn't really care about, and then a lot of the creators who started working with these characters got pulled off the books prematurely to go work back in the main universe. Because the Ultimate books, in terms of sales, were getting swallowed alive by the DC's relaunch. So you were left with this big sort of mess, and the creators doing their very best to put things, in order. But at that time, everything they did made it worse. It was sort of like cleaning up a spill, and you kept spilling stuff. Like, that's what was happening. Like, Ultimatum was the spill, and they're like, oh shit, we need to clean this. But the professional cleaning crew left too early, so you're trying to clean it, but you don't really know what you're doing, so you're actually just making it worse.
It's like trying to remove a bleach stain with bleach.
Yeah, kind of. And so by the end, now, it's sad, because the Ultimate Universe started off, and they got a lot of people back in the comics. To see it sort of end with a poof, kind of sad.
Okay. So I guess my next question is well, I don't know. You kind of answered a lot of my questions kind of before I asked them here. So I guess now my next question is like, what's a book that you're going to be sad to see going away? I tell you, I'm a little I'm raising my eyebrows because I'm really sad about the Deadpool book ending because I really like the current run of Deadpool. So and I'm always a little leery whenever Deadpool ends a book and moves on to a new one, because if you look back through his history, every single time Deadpool's changed books, there's been some kind of new twist added to the concept or to his character that wasn't there previously. Like the first Deadpool book, the first one they had on his own, it was fairly straightforward. And then you went into Agent X, where we kind of had this whole, okay, he might be Deadpool, he might not be, kind of an identity crisis thing. And then you had Cable and Deadpool, which was the buddy book from hell. And then he got his current solo book where they introduced that second voice in his head, which I honestly don't like that characterization of the multiple voices in his head. I always liked that he was just kind of more of a cartoon character, just very self-aware and kind of just, picking away at the fourth wall. I'm not really on board with the whole multiple personalities bit, but hey, whatever, it's humorous at points. So I'm kind of worried, like, what are they going to do next?
Yeah, I mean, there's to me a lot of...
And then there's also my fear, because I've also seen Deadpool's incarnation from the Ultimate comics, and that guy was an asshole. I don't want that Deadpool. I want happy Deadpool, not asshole, neo-Nazi Deadpool.
No, you'll be fine. I mean, like a lot of the books that I was reading are coming back anyway, like Captain America and like Avengers and stuff like that, and Captain Marvel. Like all that, I know for a fact. Will just show back up, and nothing too much of it will probably have changed. Of course, I do feel bad for Captain Marvel because this is her fourth relaunch in as many years. Like they're doing a great job promoting her, but for some unknown reason, they can't get people to read her books, and I don't understand why.
Now we're talking about Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Carol Danvers.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so strange because it's the same creative team every single time. I was like, oh, okay, this is it's gonna take off, and no, canceled and gonna relaunch with a new number one. I'm like, God damn it, you've done this 4 times.
My biggest problem with Carol Danvers as a character is she seems, maybe this is me, she seems very generic. Very standard set of skills. Flight, super strength, basically a flying brick. And every book I've read that's had her in it or that's been centered around here, I've never really felt like she's always felt like a very flat character. I don't know, maybe that's just poor writing. Maybe I just haven't been reading the right books, but I've never felt like, there's anything really unique about her.
I think it's just because she's just I like her because she's just a strong character. Like, I could see where you can say like she's a bit on the generic side, like, but she's just usually to me she's heroics in all sort of the right way. That's just sort of me. But like I just feel bad because because she's not technically a bad character, and they really want her to succeed because she's getting her own movie. But for some god unknown reason, they just seem to be having their own. Their
now I am sad about the contrast with the Miss Marvel book ending with I can't remember the character's name off the top of my head, but the Arab teenager. I've wanted to get into that book because it seemed so fascinating to me, but I've just never haven't had the time to go back and play catch up with it. And now it's ending. It's just like I'm having the Caprica problem again. It's like I want to start it, but I know that it will only end in heartbreak.
Well, I don't think it's ending. Well, okay. Again, this is because it's not on the main cancellation list. At least I don't see it on the main cancellation list. So, but there is, I know there's a book, I think it's called like In Tales or whatever, Miss Marvel, but I know for a fact that because she's in the new, they did tease the all new, all different Avengers book, and she's in that book. So the character's not going away, the book is probably not going away, she'll probably get a new number one. The reason I say she's probably going to get a new number one, I say it with such unenthusiastic voice, is because that's Marvel's way of sort of trying to get people back into sales or back into a book. And they've been doing it so long that it's almost like a joke now. It's like, oh, the book's canceled, so when's the new number one coming out? Like, that's like how everyone sees it. Whenever something gets canceled, it's like, okay, obviously it's going to be a new number one. Because, that's what gets people into the shops, not, good stories. It's just the big number one on the cover.
I think so far, right now She-Hulk is the reigning queen of that trip, but she's had, 6 different relaunches?
Yeah, don't even get me started on how they fucking treated fans with her most recent one, where, when it got canceled at number 12, and people were upset, rightfully so, Marvel came out and said, oh no, see, we always planned it to go to 12 issues. I'm like, fuck you, bullshit! You never said in any of your solicitations this was a miniseries. If it was a miniseries, it probably would have sold better. Don't lie to my face like that. I know how this works.
Jesus, that's like, and this shows my age. That's like Transformers Generation 2 all over again.
Oh, where they're like, yeah, this is totally how we wanted to end it. And like Simon Furman's like, no, this sucks. I wrote a character called Just Axe Us. If you say it slowly, what does it say? Just axe us. Stop the pain.
God, it's like, yeah, no, that's, and the thing is like, I'm not sure which run it was, but it was the run of She-Hulk that ran through the Civil War back in 2007. I loved that run. Well, I mean, up until she left the law firm and became a bounty hunter, which I thought was a bit of a clusterfuck. But I mean, it's like, she's a good character. If you put the right creative team behind her, she can do really well. And it's like, yeah.
They wanted at that time. Actually, that was because I think it might have been Peter David before whoever took over. Because Peter David didn't write her turning into a bounty hunter. Someone else did that. I have no idea. Yeah, Peter David actually, I think, said, this could be our Wonder Woman. Like, she could be our main female to shine, has how, DC has Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Everyone knows Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. And Marvel's like, all right, name some Marvel characters: Captain America, Spider-Man, and Iron Man. There's no number one female. They've tried very hard to get a number one female. I think She-Hulk, I think, is the best candidate, but they're not going to do it. They've sort of switched over and gave it to Carol Danvers. They're like, you shall be our number one female. That's why she has 4 relaunches. And She-Hulk has only had the one, and then they stopped it and lied to my face about it.
Bitter? No, sir, not at all.
If they just said, listen, sales were not as good, and that's how a book gets canceled, I'll be like, you know what, I understand, that sucks, that happens. Most of my books go through that. But to tell me to my face, you meant for it to go to 12 issues when you never told anyone it was going to go for 12 issues, I felt was bullshit.
Okay. Here's one I'm kind of surprised to see on this list. Angela, Asgard's assassin. Now, that's the Angela from Spawn, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see that on that list. She has not had in my opinion, her integration into the Marvel Universe, her shoehorning, has not gone over well at all.
Well, I mean, I knew that whole relationship was doomed from the start, because, like, look at the book she comes from, for God's sakes!
Yeah, they debuted her with the Guardian of the Galaxy. And they're like, yeah, she's a new Guardian of the Galaxy. Yay! We're like, why? Yay! He's like, that didn't answer my question. And then they've shoehorned her to be a part of the Asgardians and things like that, and like being related to Thor. We're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, yay! Like, no.
and especially the line that it was the same Angela from Spawn. It wasn't like a character made up to like a Captain Ursats. This was the actual Angela. I'm like, oh God! So how are you going to explain Malbolgia and the War in Heaven and all, and Spawn and all that shit? Because you're opening up a kettle of fish.
I'm
here,
pretty
guys.
sure I'm not going to say she's not going to show back up in after Secret Wars, but I don't think she's going to show back up after Secret Wars. Gonna be the weird side character that nobody talks about. So okay, so now there's something else I want to kind of gloss on here a bit is now how do you think the you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the discussion, but I kind of want to go a little bit in more detail. How do you think the film universe is going to affect these? Other than, like I said, sort of trying to synergize the books so they're more in tune with the films themselves. Now, there's going to be some pushback from the comic publishing side since they've just like introduced like a shit ton of new characters that aren't in the main Marvel universe yet. My hope is that whatever does sort of happen, they don't completely make it a book version of the movie universe, mainly because you limit yourself greatly that way, and you are going to lose a lot of characters that haven't been introduced yet. And who knows, there could be a character showing up in a future movie that's not like in the comic book, and then the movie publisher and the movie side goes, all right, you need to make this character like the movie side. Like, well, you can't do that. They've done this and this and this. Like, well, it's too bad. If they do it organically, it shouldn't affect it too much. My fear is it won't be done organically, just because we're cynical about it.
Now when you say when you say organically, you mean like separate from the MCU and not an actual.
Yeah, I have no problems with being too like. I know there's probably execs somewhere going, but people will get confused. I'm like, no, not really. Like, they wouldn't actually.
The Enterprise is calling you there, Brian.
They can hold.
I want to talk a bit about the brand confusion, because you brought up something that I kind of brought up back when they first announced Lady Thor, and that's with with what's right now. I think it's safe to say that the movies are the most visible aspect of the Marvel universe, and that's if we're talking about things that will drive increased sales of the books, I mean the movies are it. I mean you're introducing these characters to an audience that probably 70% of them haven't even heard of these characters, don't know anything about them. So to suddenly shake up your source material in such a way, I feel like you run a very huge risk of brand confusion. Like I said, I mentioned this when they first announced Lady Thor, but now it seems to kind of throwing the baby with the bathwater here. By just completely changing everything, so it's going to be like, oh well, I like the characters in this movie. They are awesome. I wish to read more about them. These are not the characters that I remember.
There can be. Now I think that for the most part, a lot of the audience is smarter than what we ever give credit for. That they can figure out that okay, this is not the same. Now, I do know how you feel when you say that the Marvel movies themselves are what's the main attraction. And I know that just because at work I was talking to someone the other day, and we mentioned, the secret identity of Captain America. And the person looked back at me and goes, oh, you mean Chris Evans? I was like, okay, you're not wrong, but it's Steve Rogers. Oh, he has another name. Yes. Like, So there is probably some issues with that. That was a fun conversation for a while. She hasn't spoke to me since. Anyway.
That date ended
poorly, it wasn't a date, thank God. But no, there can be, but I feel like it won't be as bad as we think it could be, if that makes any sort of sense. People are smart. The people who do get confused probably weren't going to go continue the hobby as long as the newer fans would. But people who sit down and go, "Oh, this happened? Let me read," and they kind of do their homework. Even though I've gone on record saying, continuity shouldn't be homework for new fans. Like any new hobby shouldn't come with an essay. But you're talking about an industry that's almost 100 years old. Can't really get around that.
Yeah. Which sort of brings in something that I really hope I don't see happen, and that's going back and retelling old stories. Because, we're seeing the Infinity Wars in the film. Okay, we've already done the Infinity Wars story in the comics. I really don't want to see Marvel go back and basically, remake older classic stories. Do
you mean like Secret Wars? What they're doing right now?
Well, that's reuse of a title, not necessarily a premise.
Yes, it is the same fucking premise.
Well, not always, because remember, there was also that Secret War where they sent a covert team to Latveria to assassinate Dr. Doom or somebody.
Count.
So,
despite the fact they used the same title.
What the fuck?
It's a good title. It's a good one. What can I say?
So, okay. That aside, but I don't want this to set a precedent where instead of getting new stories of this new universe, we're just retreading the same ground over and over again. It's one of the reasons why it's very difficult for me to get into, new iterations of the Transformers, because fuck, I can only see Megatron kill Optimus Prime so many times before I just start taking bets on how long it's going to take.
I mean, I don't think you will. The creator, as much as I give shit about some of the stuff that happens in Office of Marvel, they have their act together. So I don't think they will do something like that. You might see Thanos show up almost the exact same time as he does for the movies that come out. Or in Avengers Assemble, right when Age of Ultron was about to hit the theaters, Ultron magically showed up in that cartoon. Which is not all that good of a cartoon, despite what Kat says. She's going to hear this and hate me. Because she enjoys the show, but I watched it and I was like, this is kind of bad. But who am I to judge?
You're our comic book correspondent. That's why I hired you. Your job is to sit there in judgment of comics companies. In your right hand is the Staff of Mercy, and in your left is the Orb of Damnation.
Oh, man. It's the Orb? Oh, I've got that confused. So that's why that keeps blowing up.
Okay. So, I now, the next question that I have, because, we've seen this kind of thing done before with DC, and it's almost always just a betting game of how long it's going to be until they either undo it or change it again. So do you think that this is going to be a permanent thing, or do you think this is going to last about a couple years then get written back?
You will always to say there won't be retcons is a lie. There will be retcons. They will retcon stuff. They'll change things. But in terms of starting over, they probably won't. I don't see them, because they made a huge deal of this is ending. They almost had billboards and shit like that, and they had a live web conference that crashed because whoever their IT guy didn't set it up properly. But, so eventually stuff that's sort of bad or stuff that maybe wasn't a good idea will be retconned or changed around. But in terms of actually going back to the old universe, I don't see that happening. This is pretty much a stake in the ground. We're going to go forward, do the best that we can, and
Although if they do go back, I'm calling it out, if they do go back to the old universe, somehow, some way, it's going to be Deadpool's fault.
Probably. He pressed a button somewhere he wasn't supposed to press.
Oh, okay. But I mean, because the thing is, like, Marvel has usually been pretty good about sticking to their continuity, for good or for ill. Again,
Right.
one more day.
Or the others. That's all. Poor it's really with Spider. Like a lot of Spider-Man and X-Men have some really bad continuity stuff. They probably would like to forget. That's why the X-Men are going to end up on their own planet for some unknown fucking reason.
That's their punishment for
I guess until they get the rights back and they'll just magically appear again. Hi guys, remember us?
So, and I think the books that have been coming out have kind of waylaid a lot of the fears that, like, once the mouse took over, everything was going to be kind of kiddified. I think a lot of those fears have been waylaid. Do you think some of those fears are coming back with this?
No, it's not going to be kiddified. The only thing that's actually been kiddified has been the cartoons. Like, I feel like the cartoons are made for a much younger audience, and people just don't realize it. That's the only thing. Well, Big Hero 6 was kiddified, but that was for an animated movie. But no, I think that fear has been laid to rest. People are over it. This is more along the lines of, okay, are you going to take away characters? Are you going to give us characters? What? Since they're playing it so close to chest, we don't know what exactly they're doing. That's the issue. Is we kind of need to hopefully get teased some more and get some more information going, because as right now everything's sort of up in the air. And I don't know how badly it's going to affect some of their sales, because they have so many goddamn spin-offs of Secret Wars right now. I literally have no way of keeping up. And I saw a flow chart of how they're going to collect it when they all the tie-ins and stuff in the main book. They presented it at a con. I forget which con, like one of the smaller ones. I saw a picture of it and I said, trades shouldn't have a flow chart. It should be these books in this trade, these books in this trade.
I remember when Civil War first came out, and I was following that pretty religiously, and I had all the spin-offs, and I actually I bought a long box specifically for all my Civil War books. That's how into this I was. And I had all of the books arranged in chronicle order of release, and the narrative wove through, and it all made sense. And then suddenly they're releasing the trades, and it's like, okay, it makes sense that Wolverine has his own trade, and She-Hulk has its own trade, and yada, 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 even though She-Hulk only had one issue in the Civil War. But it's like, now you're throwing the whole narrative out of whack, because some of this stuff is, in some of these side stories, is taking place over months, and some of it's just taking place over a couple of days, and, like, the narrative is all skewed.
Yeah, and unfortunately that does sort of kill a lot of enthusiasm when trades are sort of put together in a bit, especially a big event like this, are put together in a very wacko order. So, but I won't be with it. Leave me the fuck alone. Again, it's one of those things where I need to get a better picture too, because it was a blurry picture. But I just remember looking at it and saying, a trade collection shouldn't have a flow chart. That was like one of my big issues. So we'll have to wait and see, because a lot of big things are coming. We know that for an absolute fact, that later this year a lot of big things are coming. What will end up being, I have no idea.
Okay, and one final tack that I think we have to kind of tackle here is, how do you think DC is going to react, or is reacting? To
they're already like relaunching like 20 some odd books come next month, or we're recording it, so about in June. So they've already sort of started. There was already sort of reaction to it, because they had their big event Convergence. That's coming to an end pretty soon.
They had a big event, and it wasn't called Crisis of X number of Earths.
No, because I called it. It was an event. It was more like a filler, because I remember reporting in the headlines that they're moving from their offices in New York to California. So since their editorial staff is going to be made a move, they put together this event called Convergence that sort of in a 2 months time period tells sort of a story of the parallel Earths and stuff like that. To sort of hold off until everyone gets settled over in the new offices. So it's a filler event. Nothing really will come of it. Like, there's no big earth-shattering kaboom. There's no status quo change. It's just, here, enjoy some of these, return to some of these parallel Earths and stuff like that for these next couple of months before our main line starts back up again. And their main line is getting fresh new creators, getting several new series in there. more diverse artwork and more diverse creators coming in. So they've already sort of took a stab and going, all right, so that's your stuff. Here's what, we're going to get this a little bit ahead of yours. And then, then Marvel's going to do their big relaunch. And then next couple of months, DC will have a couple more books relaunched. And then Marvel's going to have, it's just been a big cycle of relaunches at this point. Since the last probably 4 years, it's just been just them going at it, going, here are our new books. Go away, old books. Here are our new books. Go away, old books. Here are our new books. That's the story.
Here are new books. Go away.
Yeah, that has been their big thing between these two. They just keep putting some old books away, and here's some new ones. Putting some old books away, here's some new ones. Putting this old series away, but here's a brand new number one. It's getting so good that Archie has decided to jump on the train, and they're relaunching their whole Archie line. So everyone's it's a relaunch. It's a relaunch party. Everyone relaunches everywhere.
Which, if that's not a sign of the end times, like nothing is. Like Archie has been like immutable, immobile. Nothing about Archie ever changes. He may go a little crazy sometimes. See, Afterlife with Archie, but Archie himself has kind of always been there, and now it's
just been one of those things.
All right, but anyway, that's about all the time that we have for this week. So, we hope you enjoyed this kind of little fireside chat, kind of an experimental thing that we decided to try out and see how it works. So, yeah. And, we'll see you when we're taking a break next week. We'll see you when we come back for our next discussion in a couple weeks, next big major episode in a couple weeks. So, yeah. All right, Taka, play us out.